Let's face it, self-confident people tend to get a little further in life. It's easier for them to achieve personal and professional goals, overcome challenges, and move forward. Because as a self-confident person, you trust yourself that you can find a solution for almost anything. And this doesn't mean that you always think you're right. Not at all. But this means that you are not afraid to be wrong and you have this inner knowing of your strengths, but also your weaknesses. But you embrace them both because you know that both parts is what makes you you. I also like to think of self-confidence using a graph of Ray Dalio, which is actually a bit more about how we can achieve our goals. But imagine this. There is something that you want to do and you trust yourself right from the start that you can do it. But you also know that probably failure is going to be a part of your journey at some point. So when you do fail, you take all the learnings out of your experience, you improve, and you get back up. And in this entire process of wanting something, failing, learning, improving, and going back up, you never questioned, you never stopped believing in yourself that you are capable to figure this thing out. Okay, now we know self-confidence is nice and we probably all want to have a bit more of it. So how can we actually get more confident? I've scraped the internet to find some answers. Now, before we get going, you probably need to know about me that I was super shy as a kid until I was about 15 years old, where I had this one pivotal moment in my life where I really saw in school that if I can change my behaviors, I can also change my results. And of course, I didn't wake up one day and felt like, oh, I feel so damn confident. No, it was actually through repetition. And of course, there are also still some things I feel a bit more confident about, and some things in my life I still feel a bit more like shy or less confident about. But this is actually also the first and I think really nice thing that I found. While confidence is nothing that just pops up one day, it is something that we can train. It's almost like any skill. The more we do it, the better we get. So the thing that I found how to do this is to build up proof that we are capable. So take anything you're afraid to do, right? Can be calling at a restaurant, can be reaching out to someone regarding a new job. For me, it was actually that I really wanted to be more confident and more comfortable meeting new people. So what did I do? I just researched people on LinkedIn, over the internet, and I just wrote them an email, wrote them a message and said, hi, I'm Alina, I'm doing this and that. Do you want to meet up for lunch or coffee? And some people said yes, some people said no, some people didn't even reply. But for the people that did say yes, all of a sudden I had a date and I needed to meet that person. So I was first of all forcing myself to actually improve on the thing that I wanted to improve and get more confident about. And second of all, I repeated this process. And that's what you need to do as well. And this way you really build up trust with yourself that, hey, I was able to improve this, so I'm probably also able to improve another thing in my life. And also, every time we do something like that, where we go out of our comfort zone and really train ourselves to be more out there, more confident, we might always have this fear of rejection. So every time I'm afraid of being rejected, I always think about, okay, what would be actually worse than being rejected? And that would be regret. So thinking about the thing that I actually wanted to do, but I didn't because I was afraid. So that's something I always like to keep in mind when I'm trying to build up proof that I'm capable. And this actually also comes back down to another really important point. Self-confidence is about keeping the promises you made with yourself. Now, imagine a friend. And this friend is always postponing the meeting you both set up. At one point, you will stop trusting them. And the same goes for yourself. So if you say things to yourself like, I'm going to work out tomorrow, I'm going to start reading tomorrow, I'm going to do literally anything tomorrow, and you never go ahead and do it, you stop trusting yourself. And I think this was also a huge problem for me, because every time I wanted to make some kind of change in my life, I always tried to go from 0 to 100. And while it seems so logical to not do that, I think a lot of people actually make this mistake. So I think it's really important that, if we want to implement a new habit into our lives, like starting to read, we really need to start small, keep that promise with ourselves, and then actually go from there. We can always do more, right? So now, for example, I have a goal of reading 1 page a day. 1 page a day, that's something I can obtain every day. And once I pick up my book, I tend to read more pages, of course, and not just one. Maybe also some days it's just one, and that's also okay, right? But I'm keeping the promise with myself, and I know that I can trust myself to actually follow up on the things that I set out to do for myself. Another great technique I was reading about is to write yourself a self-confidence letter. So basically, you sit down in a moment where you feel very good about yourself. So in moments where you are maybe doubting yourself, in moments where you actually have to face some kind of challenge and are really a bit unsure about yourself, you just go ahead and read it. And the way you can also go about this is to look at your younger self. Have a look at how far you've come. Which things would you have wished to have back then that you do have right now? Things like skills, where you live, a new piece of clothing, a new book you just bought. Anything that comes to your mind that you are proud to have, which you didn't have when you were younger. Or also have a look at what is easier now than it was a year ago. Anything that comes to your mind that allows you to feel good about yourself. And this is also a really great way to build up that internal confidence for yourself, because when other people are telling you that you did a great job with something, you look so pretty today, like all these things are so great to hear, but you don't rely on them, because literally you've just written yourself a letter where you listed down everything that you can be confident about. So all these external things are just the cherry on top, but you have already built the foundation, your internal confidence, with yourself. And the fourth tip to step up your self-confidence is to eliminate negative self-talk. If you beat yourself up, you probably feel miserable, and this will keep you away from moving forward. So this means beating yourself up for the things that did not go your way will lead you nowhere. I think it's important to know what went wrong in order for you to not make the same mistake in the future, but to not beat yourself up over it. So the question should always be, hey, what was it that I did wrong, and what can I learn from it in the future, and what can I improve the next time? This is also why I showed you the graph in the beginning, because failure will be part of everyone's journey. At some point, like nothing great ever happened without a person failing at something. So here are 2 things that I have found that help me to eliminate that negative self-talk. First, imagine you would say this to your younger self or a loved one. Like, just imagine you would beat your younger self down, or a person you really love. What would you do? How would you feel? Probably very bad, right? Because you would never want that someone in this universe is speaking like that to a person you love, or also to your younger self. And the second thing I like to do is to remind myself that I am literally in the driver's seat of my own life. I feel like sometimes we forget that we have so much power of choice. We can make so many new decisions every day. This just makes me a lot more confident that I know I have all the power in the world to do this, and really to remind myself in situations where I talk very negatively to myself. And the last thing is to get to know your authentic self and embrace it. And this is also something I want to work a lot more on, because I feel like if you know yourself and know your values and why you act the way you act, it becomes so much easier to be confident, because no one out there can take away your own authenticity. I think this is just about getting quiet with yourself. These are things like meditating, journaling, and really also getting comfortable with being alone. At least sometimes, right? I mean, not all of the time because we are all social beings, but I think this really empowers you to also really take the space for yourself and figure out like really how you are, what you want to do, what you feel comfortable with, what you don't feel comfortable with. And writing about all these things has really also helped me. And the way I do this is I do a daily checkout with myself every night. So I will sit down and I will write about 4 things: today's grateful moments, the personal and the professional ones. I will write down a new learning, a new realization I had, today's successes, and also today's hurdles. So things that were actually hard for me to do, things I struggled with. And this just also gives you more awareness for yourself, for your day, how you reacted to certain things, what you kind of realized, what you learned out of it. And that has definitely also helped me to get a deeper understanding for myself. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that some of these strategies and principles were useful for you to build up your self-confidence. So thank you again for watching, and I hope to see you very soon in one of my new and next videos.